Hello again to this video clip series that I'm calling My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. This should be video clip 48. I'm continuing with this talk on, which I think is rather important because it's one of the fundamental strategies of the Freemasons. You can find in this topic that we were talking about, this article called "The Rigid with Christ, the Immutable Truth," and in parentheses, the great damage due to the camouflaged hypocrisy of Pope Francis. Let's try to look at this a little bit better. Let's try to look at the great difference between the words that we just, in the video just before this, of the words of Father Joseph Ratzinger and Our Lady with the words of Pope Francis. Because Pope Francis is saying, he says, like you can find these articles in that article, references. Pope Francis warns of rigidity. He says church must adapt or it will become increasingly irrelevant. Do you see what's going on here? They're saying the main priority here is the number of people in the church not to follow Jesus, the truth. They're shifting it toward, let's go to the majority. That's the church should be founded on the majority of people who have basically don't want to follow the Ten Commandments or carry the cross. That should be the church, not Jesus Christ, the truth. In another article, Pope Francis delivers reality check, warns of Christianity's growing irrelevance. And you can find several articles on this. Another article is Pope denounces rigidity as he warns of Christian decline. Do you see the subtlety here? Jesus never made compromises. He said to follow the truth, and it's possible to follow the truth when it's difficult only with the help of God, as you can find in Matthew chapter 10. With God, everything is possible. With man, nothing is possible. What the strategy now is, it's impossible because the world is so far away from God, so we must just go down with the world and compromise, and that will be the new church, which then will be manipulated by those who want to use the one world church at the service of the new world order, which will then be to adore the Antichrist. Take a look at Book of Revelation, chapter 13. You know what happens to the few priests and bishops today who do their fundamental work to identify and cure as spiritual doctors the gravest sickness of the soul's mortal sins? What I'm saying is priests today who preach the whole gospel and all the teachings of the magisterium of the church are labeled rigid and old-fashioned, insensitive, lacking in compassion, divisive, judgmental moralists, while at the same time the ones who maintain a culpable silence, the ones who tell their people what they think they want to hear, are seen as understanding, sympathetic, pastorally sensitive, and merciful. And now Luke, Jesus said in Gospel of Luke chapter 6, "Woe to you when all men speak well of you, for so their fathers did to the false prophets." Another quote from Jesus, John 12, "For they loved the praise of men more than the praise of God." And another from Jesus, John 5, How can you believe who receive glory from one another and do not seek the glory that comes from the only God? But this is the way of doing this way of doing is not true mercy. This is false love, misguided compassion, false mercy, false ecumenism that does not lead to paradise for all eternity. As I had mentioned before, it is a great pressure on Catholic groups to follow this. Otherwise, you're not nice. It's great pressure. In fact, I said in another video clip somewhere that Mother Angelica was a saint. She was ready to lose anything and everything. The main priority was the glory of God and the salvation of souls. After she had her ictus and so on, you know, the main priority now is to not lose clients, not lose money, not lose prestige in the world. And so you don't hear those words that Mother Angelica used to say. She said, if you're not a thorn in the side of people, you're not doing Christianity properly. She often talked about this trap that we're talking about now of misguided compassion. You don't hear that anymore in EWTN because the main goal is that everybody's happy, comfortable, which is what most priests do today. The main priority is to make everybody happy in the parish and kind of remain silent about some of the truths that people don't want to hear. The mainstream media strongly ridicules those who have their eyes opened through this very well-organized program, the Great Reset, of the very powerful elite of the world to bring us to the most horrible atheistic dictatorship the world has ever known. Propaganda and brainwashing the public has always been a very powerful weapon. And as I had mentioned before also, that after the Second World War, the scientists, with Hitler, the scientists that were developing new weapons, and also those who had learned about the propaganda and how to brainwash people with the television and so on, were all saved and brought to the United States to continue this work. Many believe that the Freemasons are simply a century-old charitable fraternity. However, the Catholic Church has consistently condemned Freemasonry more than any other error in its history because it promotes indifferentism, naturalism, communism, and other dangerous philosophies. Masonry is working to create a world dictatorship in a subtle and hidden way, the New World Order. Masonry has assassinated various presidents of the United States who began to mint money by the government instead of by the Mason banks, the Federal Reserve, and such as Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and others. For similar reasons, in a sly, hidden way, Aldo Moro, Italian Prime Minister, was killed in 1978. The Red Brigade was only a cover for the real assassins, Freemasonry. Those who become 33-degree Masons must swear the oath Ordo ab Chaos, meaning order out of chaos. Ordo ab Chaos is the motive to promote uncontrolled immigration, as well as undermining commerce and the whole of the structures of society in a covert and underhanded way, using their very numerous bribed Masonic politicians and corporate directors. And then here's a quote from a Mason. He said, "Masonry is a true and specific satanic sect. The esoteric studies up to the 18th degree include spiritism and magic. From the 24th degree, one becomes militia of Satan. From the 28th degree to the 33rd degree, the mystical body of Satan. This is the reality of Masonry." This was written testimony of Cesare Ginelli. He was an ex-Mason. Another one who was still a Mason, he said, "Satan is the only God of our planet." Most Masons do not know they are working for Satan until they are brainwashed during at least 24 degrees of Masonry. But immediately, at the first degree of Masonry, one must accept religious syncretism, that all religions are equal, which means that Jesus Christ is at the same level with Muhammad or Buddha or any other religious leader. I will end this video clip here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.